Hi, James Hayden. Today we are talking about partnerships. Have you had a partnership that fits that old adage of the only ship that never sails is a partnership? What I'm going to cover today is a continuation of how to recruit and select partners. Tomorrow I'm going to give you, it's going to be nuts and bolts, a model on how to set the goals, the specific metrics for partners. First of all, when looking at a partner, and if you are actively and proactively seeking partners, it's okay to say no if a partner doesn't fit. I think that's an important thing. So in the negotiations, looking beyond the individual negotiator and considering that company or that partner's interest in the relationship, and really understanding the value of your company's relationship to them is important. I would ask them why. Why are we here? Why are we talking about this? What's the value of this? How do you see this unfolding? So it's important to have your business strategy and how that partnership fits into the business strategy. Then develop a marketing plan with your marketing team that includes a defined program partner, and on your website, in your communications, have information about partners and their successes. I would suggest even going as far as on your website having a walled garden, if you will, or a locked space for partner portal. Tough one to pronounce. So the key thing about partners is they have other products, services that they're selling. So an equation I use is mind share equals market share. What do you need to do? And we're going to cover some of that in onboarding and as far as getting their mind share, but getting them to the point where you're negotiating terms is key. Another axiom that I use is performance equals motivation times learning. So understanding that why they're motivated is important, and then the learning part is educating them on how to sell it. That's usually, teaching a person to fish and then letting them do the fishing, because you don't want them to become too dependent on you. That's the value of their relationship, especially if they're selling. So giving them what they need, reinforcing that learning, reinforcing the motivation and the learning is important. And again, I suggest having a verbal understanding of your company's value to that partner in their own words first. And there are generally multiple people within the company. Go to each one of those people, the CEO, the owner of the company, the person driving sales, and the individual salespeople, and understand the value, what it means to them for the partnership, and then have some specifics. Understand their compensation plan for their salespeople. So it's important to understand that person who's going to manage the channel within your organization. It's not a VP of sales generally. It's a very different skill set. They, on the one hand, are showing organizations how to sell your solution and managing really and leading an array of people within one partnership or maybe multiple partnerships. It's a different skill set. More information is in the book. This is from the book. It's in the book, as well as I do have a test that will test not only direct salespeople, but channel salespeople. Number one, do they have the experience? Number two, do they have the aptitude to do it? So it's important to understand how your channel approach is different than your competitors, how you've differentiated it. Another question that comes up frequently is, what is the right number of partners? It's kind of a Goldilocks scenario. What are the right number of partners? It kind of depends on the performance of the partner. I would go with quality versus quantity. and just really tighten down the selection criteria. Utilize your own company as a recruiting agency. People know people in the business. Ask for leads from your employees. A passive way to do it is on LinkedIn and social media. And again, have that tagline about partners. Our partners are very successful, blah, 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 blah. Click here for more information. It's important to put that out there. And then understand from them, if you don't already going into it, why are companies buying their products? So that really kind of completes the picture of their value to your organization. And then how many sales from channel partners will be dedicated to your company? In other words, what are your expectations of sales from a channel perspective coming in? And it's important to do that. Then before you go into it, do you have a way to rank and sort partners around their, not only just their revenue, but their actions and their progress? I would suggest I utilize a matrix. And are they, currently a way to evaluate whether it's a good partner? Are they producing greater or lesser than average market share for their existing products in a category? You want somebody who is, I think, a fairly dominant player in the industry. Then as you're going into this in discussions, do you have agreed upon objectives and goals with stated events and timeframes for the first 90 days and beyond? Open office hours. What are you doing in the trenches, working side by side? Some commitments that X amount of time, especially in the beginning, will be committed to your organization. Model's really different for every company. These are just some of the ideas from the checklist I have that is in the book for you. I think it's really important to take a look at the motivation of their sales team, and are they coachable? What I mean by that, are they learning within the organization? It's important to identify those leaders within the organization that other people will follow, just like it is in a product adoption life cycle where you're identifying early adopters and innovators. Same thing. Do they understand the buyer's needs that you're going after, those solutions, and how your solution fits? If not, you've got a gap there to fill. Do they have connectivity with the correct buyers, or they just have connectivity within the organization and have to sort out who the buyers are? And then is there a learning and development tool that you need for learning, the videos, etc.? And then I would suggest stated goals by events and timeframes. This was a long one today. We're going to cover tomorrow specifically for how to set metrics or those objectives so you can forecast with your partners, as well as for your own planning purposes, what to expect, so you can start to set objectives that are quantifiable. That's it for today. I know this is really nuts and bolts stuff. It's not the sexiest material out there. We're going to go next to that model, those metrics. Then after that, what we'll cover is how to onboard a partner. And then after that, how to optimize or exit partners at the right time, how to do that. That really covers the life cycle of your channel sales. Have a great day.